1. Pardon moi, I just need to vent. On July 3rd, we had a 30-day reservation come in for our hotel for this guest through an OTA. Her card was marked by them as invalid, and the guest updated her card per the system, but was still showing invalid. I believe the CVC was missing, as this is usually the issue with this error message for this site. I didn't want the guest to lose her reservation, as Night Audit may have cancelled the booking for the GDT being invalid, especially on a busy weekend. Looking back now, I should have just let NA cancel the damn thing. I called her to make sure she was still coming and let her know her card was marked invalid, and she got upset immediately, started arguing that she updated it. I explained it was probably just missing a number or something, but that I didn't want her to lose her reservation if she still had plans to come, because it was a holiday weekend, and as we were very busy, no shows were cancelled. She said she was still coming, so she gave me a card to put on file. I explained that the card would be charged for one night to verify and hold her room, and she said she was okay with this. Because her reservation was for check-in 7/3/2020, and she said she was still coming, I said, "We will see you later, thank you," and she was polite enough at the end of the call. The next morning, she had not checked in, and when I came in at 3 p.m. was still not in-house. I was surprised, and even told the first shift I was surprised she didn't show up as I had talked to her the previous night. Because she never came or even called the hotel to communicate that she would be a day late in her arrival, her res was checked in for the night of the 3rd, in anticipation of her arrival, and then checked out and marked as a no-show the following morning at 11:30 a.m. after our checkout time. The guest and her father arrived at 6 to 6:30 p.m. the evening of July 4th for check-in. The father said his daughter had a room reserved and asked us about moving truck parking, and I explained where he could park a moving truck on property, and he was very pleasant. Then he left and his daughter came in. She said her name and I remembered what happened. So I began to explain that the reservation was already checked out since she was a no-show. She immediately became disgruntled, and I explained we could book another room for her if she would like. She literally just stared at me for a few seconds, visibly angry, and making me very uncomfortable. So I prompted her by asking, "What can I do for you?" She didn't answer me. She just grunted like an adult child and left the hotel. I continued with my paperwork for the evening when she came back a few minutes later and said, "I'm trying really hard to stay calm right now." I apologized and explained that I couldn't restore her reservation. Again explaining why, and let her know she would have to have called us to let us know if her check-in date was going to be a day after what was set, so we could help her keep it. She was upset and asked what our rate for the 30 days was, and I told her. But it was significantly higher than what she had already reserved. I explained last-minute bookings can be higher, especially since it was a holiday, but she could check the OTA she originally booked through if she needed a lower rate. She left again, very upset, saying that she would be back. Then her father came in. He started telling me his daughter was having problems communicating because she has just moved and was very stressed. How is that my problem? I don't know or care. And he asked me, "How are we supposed to know we would have truck and traffic problems?" I wanted to put that right back in him so bad, but didn't. How the hell are we supposed to know since neither of them told us anything about it? And on what planet is it okay to just show up whatever date you want to a hotel? So disrespectful. Again, I explained policy for no-shows and why I couldn't check her into that reservation. While I was explaining our policies, he kept interrupting me, then finally went to leave, and I said, "In the future, you need to call the hotel to let them know if you aren't arriving on the day you reserved for check-in, so we know you're still coming." But he cut me off again by yelling that I needed to shut the hell up, then walked out. Absolutely end of the damn line with me. I just sat here politely trying to help you and your entitled adult brat out, for you to yell at me and tell me to shut up, because you can't take responsibility for your own mistakes. At this point it was obvious she did not want me to help her solve her issues. If she had, she would have stepped outside, rebooked her room, and checked in without the childish tantrum and attitude. She only fixated on her anger over losing her original reservation, and the behavior then displayed is not tolerated on our property. So I walked out of the hotel, followed him outside, and let the father know that kind of disrespect and behavior was not accepted at our hotel. I asked him not to come back, and to not worry about rebooking here as I was going to report to the OTA their behavior. The father was standing by his car and lifted his hand at me and said, "You, come here!" Then started walking toward me, motioning for me to come to him so he could... what? Slap me?
Ha!
I told him I would absolutely not be approaching him, and that they needed to leave the property as I would not be checking them in for their behavior. They continued to yell at me, and I simply said if they did not leave, I would have no choice but to call the authorities. I then went back into the hotel and locked the front door, because at this point I was very uncomfortable and didn't feel safe, knowing how angry they got over that, and called the OTA to report the behavior as guest misconduct. They did not return to the hotel. As far as I know, they are now on the DNR list, but my general manager requested I report them to guest relations for their behavior. They also emailed my GM saying they were going to be reporting me, but this was the report they shared.
The guest stated that he and his daughter were arriving over 1,000 miles to the city area and had made a reservation through OTA to stay at this property for 30 days while they looked for a house. The guest stated that their moving truck broke down in another state and they had to stop. The guest stated the GSR, that's me, called his daughter at 11 p.m.
Lie, try again.
To make sure they were still coming. The guest stated that his daughter told the JSR that they were still coming and to keep the reservation.
Technically true. Failed to mention it wouldn't be until a full day later.
The guest stated they arrived between 6 and 6:30 a.m.
Another lie. It was 6:30 p.m. the following day, Independence Day, by the way.
And found that their reservation had been cancelled. The guest stated they tried to work with the front desk to reinstate the reservation.
You mean by yelling and grunting like a child when I inform you of what happened? Okay.
But were told that to rebook for the same dates it would be over $1,000 more than what they had originally been quoted. The guest stated at that point the JSR was extremely rude and did not allow him to finish his sentence before speaking over him. The guest stated the JSR kept cutting him off and the situation escalated to the point both of them were raising their voices. The guest stated that he is a veteran.
Okay, so that makes it okay for you to be an asshole?
And is not okay with being treated this way or spoken to like that in a situation where he is a paying customer.
Guess what, dipshit? JSR are people too who also dislike being yelled at and told to shut up when doing their jobs.
The guest stated he does not care one way or another whether the JSR keeps her job.
What an actual piece of shit.
But feels that she should have to apologize to him in front of a person in a position of authority for treating a paying guest the way she treated him.
Are you serious, boomer?
The guest stated if the company can do without the $2,000 he and his daughter were going to pay for their stay there, that is fine. The guest stated that his daughter received an email already informing the guests that they were no longer welcome at the property.
Yes, you absolutely did. And P.S., Mr. I am a veteran and can be an asshole to customer service staff because of it. I not only owe you an apology but a thanks. I made sure my report to corporate and my GM included the full story of you talking down to me like a piece of trash, despite trying to help your pathetic entitled daughter. I'll be keeping my job, thanks. Also, thanks for reminding me as a veteran on Independence Day how people like you can be so entitled, miserable, and angry, while also completely unable to take responsibility for your own laziness and incompetence. As for your apology, I'm sorry I went to any length to help you just to be shat on. Stop hiding behind your veteran status and start showing you're an actual decent human being by acting like one. Being a vet is not a free license to be a dick to others because you didn't get your way. End rant. 2. I just started work roughly 2 weeks ago as a new full-time breakfast attendant at the Schmancy Hotel. I used to work at Homey Hotel as part-time attendant. In fact, my last shift at Homey is tomorrow. So I know my shit. I may not know everything about Schmancy yet, but I know enough to handle it, especially considering Schmancy has roughly half the occupancy as Homey did. However, we are now in COVID world. Both hotels have recently reopened hot breakfasts. At Homey, they would get everything for themselves except hot food, of course, everything is pre-packaged. At Schmancy, guests can get nothing for themselves, so I'm handing them everything from their coffee and all its fixings to utensils, to bagels untoasted and in Ziplocs. Which means it's a lot harder to keep up with the cooking because I can't really leave the line unattended. Luckily, Homey almost always has 2 breakfast attendants on every shift. But Schmancy is now poaching housekeepers and front desk to work as helpers post-COVID, as it used to always be done by one person. And there's tons of new staff as a lot jumped ship from both hotels. Yesterday I got in early. Side note, it was also day 12 of me working due to working 2 jobs. Everything was good. Night audit finally remembered to turn the oven on for me. It takes about half an hour to heat up. So I was able to get my extra food made and even had time to get my extra coffee pots out. 6:30 comes around and I start serving breakfast. I'm happy, smiley, and nervous. My helper is coming in at 7 and it's my responsibility to train her, something I've never done before, and also, I'd be training her at a job I've had for about 2 weeks. Then it's 7:30. I have to run to the washroom, so I let the front desk know to cover my spot for a couple minutes. My helper should have been in a half hour ago. I finish up in the washroom, send front desk back to her spot and start making extra food. I get the feeling I'll need it, and also get the feeling I might not have the chance to make more. 7:45 hits, there's an hour and 15 minutes left of breakfast. Guests go from a trickle to a flood. We're running out of food, of coffee, I'm panicking. 85% of the guests can't tell me what they want in their coffee without being prompted for specifics. How am I supposed to know you want 3 creams and 12 sugars, you psycho? People are demanding I toast their bagels for them, and being upset when I explain I can't. Dude, if I toasted a bagel for everyone who asked, we'd be here till doomsday. Someone bitches me out because we don't have a waffle maker. Lady, hot breakfast just opened back up. Be happy it's not a bag with milk, Cheerios, and an apple. I keep having to run back and forth across the serving area. Some lady wants 6 coffees for herself. Yes, she actually specified for herself. Someone else is the food runner for their family of 10, so now I have to play tray plate Jenga. And of course, every single one of them wants a different combo of hot food, muffins, cereal, coffee, juice, fruit, yogurt. The line is out the door. Then across the lobby. We're halfway out of potatoes. Need more. They take 20 minutes to cook. Run. Shit. Eggs. Toss them in the oven. Scramble in between, sprinting from the kitchen to the serving area. Ham is empty again. That's fine. I had more in the oven. More coffee going in the back. Fuck. I can't do this alone. I'm breaking down. But guests aren't waiting too long. Never quite run out of food, but the dishes in the kitchen are piling up. Front desk lady shows up. She helps between phone calls, serves food between sprints to front desk and back. The garbages are overflowing. The table where guests leave used trays is piled up. I'm out of trays, and have to wipe them down as I'm interrogating guests about how they want their coffee. I haven't even gotten to wipe a single table since around 8, which is absolutely against protocol. Even more so during COVID, of course. In the midst of all this, as I'm fighting back tears, drowning in stress, trying to keep up my happy smiley face while I feel like I want to die, front desk lady is answering every phone call with, "It's a wonderful day at the Schmancy Hotel!" I almost lose it. I fight back the urge to cackle madly as we keep running. And bless this woman, she came to save my ass, and legit the first words I said to her were, "Serve food!" and completely neglected to tell her how much food to serve. If it wasn't for her support and humor, I'd have broken down. Somehow we get through it. We get through it after making 12 bags of scrambled eggs, 3 packs of ham, and 3 bags of home fries. It's 9. Both my managers show up. Without a word, they start tearing down the dining room for me. They fill up garbage bags, wipe tables, put trays in the dishwasher, tell me to go on break. I've done my bit. Fuck, that sounds bad. But they assure me they knew it was a 2-person job, that I couldn't have done any better. One of them even apologizes, saying he wished they had known my helper never showed, because he'd have been right there to help, and assured me that he talked to everyone, so they'd know to get help for me if they see I needed it. I was kicking myself after the fact for never thinking about running for help, but honestly, I was so busy trying to stay afloat that asking for someone to call the manager never even occurred to me. I headed to the staff room, chat with the woman in charge of scheduling, and she told me that she had called my helper. Apparently, my helper slept through her alarm and asked if she should still come in. Due to the fact that she takes the bus, she wouldn't have made it in before close. My helper never showed. I'm honestly glad she never did. If she had come in after breakfast closed, I don't think I could have talked to her without snapping. Aftermath. It takes me from the end of breakfast at around 9:30 to 1:30 to finish my cleanup and prep checklist. I bag up over 60 bagels, make a full tray of juice, sanitize every surface. I'm so dead in my feet I can't even think. And all throughout the cleanup, as I tidy up the patio covered in beer cans and cigarettes from yesterday that no one bothered to touch, the party ended after I left. All I can think is, it's a wonderful day at the Schmancy Hotel. 3. Background. I've worked at resorts and hotels all my professional career since I was 15, 27, female now. This story takes place at the first hotel I worked at post-college. This takes place in a small ski resort in the western US. I was working at a luxury boutique hotel as an FDA. My colleagues were mostly Germans and Australians on J1 visas, with a couple Americans sprinkled in, including me. I'll put the story in timeline fashion since it takes place over the course of roughly a week. I got second-hand accounts of parts of the story, and again, this happened a few years ago. Cast as me, one fabulous panda, GC, German co-worker, SG, strange gentleman, WW, weird woman, who to this day still do not know how she got involved in all this. Friday, I'm off this day. Strange guest arrives at the hotel with weird woman who drove him. German colleague checks him into his room. She runs his card as is procedure, but it fails. He starts giving her a bunch of different cards, all looking like Visa gift cards. None of these work, so he runs out to the car where weird woman is and has her place her card on file. Strange, but whatever. Strange guest was telling German co-worker he's a famous skateboarder. He has cancer. Weird woman is his manager. All sorts of cookie stuff that does not add up, no matter how you shake it out. Strange guest goes to the room, and weird woman departs from the hotel. Sunday afternoon. Strange guest should be checking out. He asks to extend, we do so, and charge the card on file. Here's where it starts getting funky. Weird woman calls the hotel, like a madwoman, cycling between 1, demanding to know why we're charging her card, 2, threatening to call the cops on us, and 3, sobbing hysterically about not being able to pay off the charges. As we explain the whole thing about her card being on file, she says she doesn't know the guy as he's a friend of a friend. She only gave him a ride to the hotel from City CD, 1.5 hour drive, and she was sticking her neck out for him despite not knowing the guy. Weird. I pass all the information to our FOM, and he says to stop the guy if we see him try to leave. It ends up being that he tries to leave without paying. We obviously call the cops, and they nab him. I asked my FOM if they heard anything from the cops. He said they gave him a ticket for the bus ride back to City CD. Unfortunately, that was only Act 1. Sunday night, I was working the 3 to 11 and met up with German co-worker after to go out drinking. The town we were in had a few different bus lines you could take to get to different areas of the town. Then one bus that went to City CD. It can be a little confusing to figure out the different lines, but not enough to confuse the local lines with the city bus. German co-worker and I get to the bus stop and see strange guest there with all his luggage. We both give each other a look and get on our bus. He noticed us, then got on the same bus. German co-worker didn't see it, but I did as panic slowly crept in. "Did you see strange guest over there? What happened with him today?" I shook my head and subtly motioned that he was at the other end of the bus. We got off at our stop, but he stayed on. Once off, German co-worker pressed me as to why he was on the bus, what was he doing at the bus station, etc. I told her the entirety of what happened during my shift, and that was when she told me what happened at check-in. We shrugged it off and continued to the bar. Later that week, the story of what transpired with him and the bus ride he took came from one of our bellmen, whose wife was the marketing director of another hotel in the town. Strange guest got off the bus at another stop by his hotel and went to check in. He gave a sob story to someone there, bellman, FDA, not too sure, and that employee put their card down to help pay for the room. Strange guest said he was good for the money. Turns out he wasn't and was trying to pull a fast one on this employee. A few days into his stay there was a fight between him and the employee, or him and someone else. But ultimately, cops came up to Strange Guest's room and found a credit card pressing machine. Whoops. Cops immediately arrested him, and that was that. Friday of that week, during this time, I was constantly getting calls from weird women asking for updates and whether or not she'd be getting a refund. Weirdly enough, she always called and asked for me specifically, even though I told her it was in my manager's hands and that she should speak to them or the credit card company. On Friday, I got the final call from her. She was squealing with delight. She got the police report and wanted to send me a copy because, and this part I remember very distinctively,
The report reads like a trashy romance novel, but you, Panda, are the heroine in all this.
A little baffled, I sent her the fax number and it comes through. I'm watching it come through page by page, reading snippets of the report. When the last page is printed, it's a giant heart with smaller hearts around it, and it says, "Panda, you're my hero." My colleagues made fun of me for weeks over it. 4. This is a tale from the marina I run, or a botel as I like to call them. It's basically the same as a hotel, only you can hear people a lot easier because sound carries over the water. I was getting ready to close the office at 4:45 after a relatively quiet day with few guests to check in. Most of the cleaning chores were finished and the place was looking pretty spotless. I'm ahead of schedule, and usually after closing the office and store, I head down to clean the washhouses before taking off for the night around 5:30 or so. Cue the radio in the kitchen. It was the dock manager. "Yeah, could you keep the store open for a couple more minutes? I just landed these boats and are all coming up to pay. I told them to be quick." I replied that it's fine. Usually people are pretty good about hustling up to the office before I close if they get in later in the day and I'm already ahead of schedule. 15 minutes later, the first one shows up, right as the clock strikes 5. I give her the COVID rundown, store hours, the usual spiel. She thanks me for staying open and says her friends are just outside. She'll send them in. Boy, did she ever. All at once, the 5 other adults and dozen kids they have between them come piling into the store. I kindly explain that due to COVID, we don't allow more than 4 people in the store, and could they please ask their kids to wait outside while they pay.
"Oh, well, we're all together, so we're in a bubble. It's okay."
I understand, however, we have policies in place for a reason, and I can only have 4 people in at a time. An audible sigh comes from the tallest guy whose bleached hair glinted copper in the store lighting. He lifts his aviators and looks at me for a couple seconds before hollering at the kids to wait outside the door. I get the first 2 guests checked in, mortgage paid, and they're on their way. The other 2 invite some of the kids back in and decide they're having ice cream. I can scoop like the wind so I don't think too much of it. Just a couple of cones and I can leave for the day. God laughs. One by one, I call out their ice cream flavors as I walk each cone to the door because Blondie has decided to make a point of having everyone wait outside instead of come in to get the cones. He's not happy. After all is said and done, I've scooped 14 cones and hand-delivered them to the patio one at a time. The store is in chaos after a dozen kids have made their way through all the snacks and souvenirs, tracked mud in from God knows where, and managed to touch every possible surface where fingerprints show. I bring out the mop again, the broom, vacuum, Windex, and sanitizer for a second, final wipe down that evening. I get a couple more stacks of cones from the back, finish locking up, and I'm ready to head down to clean the washhouses. My walkie chimes. "Hey, do you hear that music?" Yep, it was ABBA, and it was loud. I ask the dock manager to tell the boater responsible for the noise to keep it quiet, but he's busy catching boats. I head down to the docks, already knowing who I'm going to be speaking with about the music. I knock on the boat blasting, "Take a chance on me," and wait patiently at the stern. Nothing. I rap a little harder on the boat. Fantastic, I think I'm being ignored. I'm done being patient now because it's 5:45 and I still have to finish cleaning. I peek in one of the windows and tap on it with my knuckle, gesturing for Blondie to head to the stern of his boat so we can talk. He throws his hands up, looking annoyed. Him and his friend emerged in a drunken stupor as the music continues, stumbling up the steps from the berth, chuckling. "Hey guys, sorry to disturb you, but would you mind turning the music down?" "Yep, fine." They head back down, sort of giggling. One guy misses a step and yells, "Fuck!" I head back to start cleaning the washhouses. I manage to finish up and get back to the store to clock out without incident. It's about 6:30. I head home across the street and have a quick meal of leftovers, getting ready to turn off my walkie, when brass music that could only be described as hellish starts blasting from down on the docks. It's big band brass music comprised of at least 20 trumpets and 15 tubas, based on the sheer volume emanating from the sea. The timpani is boisterous and constant, accompanied by no fewer than 5 cymbals. I swear to Christ I'm going to lose it. Mind you, I live across the road, some half a kilometer away from the docks. The walkie chimes.
"They're back at it again. I need you down here."
Okay. I head down to Blondie's, a little disgruntled at the prospect of putting up with these guys for 2 nights after dealing with them for just 2 excruciating hours. I'm getting annoyed. We're getting complaints from multiple other boaters, and it's now 7:15. Dock manager is already chatting with them and the music is off. "Excuse me, sir, but you've already been told to turn the music down once. Now we're getting complaints from other guests. Would you please try to keep it down a little?" This ticked him right off.
"So what? You want to come on my boat and adjust the volume to an acceptable level? Is that what you want to do?"
Blondie continues to rant about being a paying customer. Ugh. And not being treated with respect. Ugh. He wants to let loose and have some fun. He continues.
"Boy, you guys sure do it different up here in Canada. Down in Washington, there's people dancing on the docks while some people are dead asleep. Hundreds of boats. You guys don't have anyone here is empty."
His exclamations continue while the relevance of them diminishes. I don't need to explain to this guy why a small marina is quiet on a Wednesday afternoon in the middle of a pandemic. And he wouldn't have cared about the answer anyway. Instead, I inform him that there are other boaters who also pay to be here, and they enjoy the peace and quiet the marina is known for. And I'm sure to mention that quiet time starts at 10 p.m, so if he'd like to play his music, he's welcome to do so until then. I stroll away as the dock manager apologizes and insists we're not trying to ruin their fun, even if I was a little at that point. It was nearing 7:45. I was tired of this guy already, but proud for not having backed down. I'm about ready for bed, so I head across the road and get settled in for the night. I work the next day, so I'll be up early to open the store. I decide to leave the walkie on, knowing these yahoos and their yellow-maned leader might give me another reason to head back to work. They did not disappoint.
"I got a bad feeling about this,"
chimed the walkie at 9:30.
"What?" "You've got a generator going, they're setting up a projector, and he said he's gonna crank it. Not sure if he was being sarcastic, but it doesn't look good."
Okay. I head down to the store and sneak in the back so I'm not noticed by the dozen kids setting up camping chairs for the pop-up drive-in theater that had appeared on the waterside deck. The generator wasn't all that loud, but it was backed by a wall of trees, so the boaters likely didn't hear much. I was waiting to see what would happen, and the adults fumbled with a projector for about 10 minutes before picking a movie. It was Jurassic World, the loudest, most obnoxious sounds anyone could dream of playing over a set of 4 12-inch speakers they brought. God help me, I'm fuming. The dock manager offers to deal with this one. I see Blondie throw up his hands as he's once again told to keep it the hell down, because it's night time and the sound of an Indominus Rex is echoing over the entire bay. They argue for a while about how they're ruining their stay and how maybe they should just go to the pub at the other marina across the bay. I pray they do. Instead, they turn it down and continue their movie. I decide to call it a night. We've done what we can short of kicking them out, and it's already dark. I'm happy not to indulge Blondie's need to be the smartest guy in the room by bickering with him, and leave it at that. The next day was relatively quiet. They sent their kids up to the store for tonic water, to avoid facing the shame of having drunkenly berated staff members the night before. I did see Blondie one more time when he bought his brewed ice cream before they left, but he didn't have much to say other than, "Thank you, sir," as he left a tenner in the tip jar. Sometimes people are just entitled assholes until they sober up and remember how they're supposed to behave in public. But my God, do I ever appreciate the normal clients after that experience. And it was evident that we did the right thing, as throughout the day the other guests thanked us for shutting them up. 5. Back over 20 years ago, I was working for a wholesaler in a rural part of Australia. We had a few motels that we used to call upon, and as most people would know, the majority of motels in rural parts of a country are typically owned and operated by a couple. Also, by a rural setting, Everyone knows everyone, and finally, things are a lot more relaxed in a rural atmosphere, so certain policies and procedures will often be forgotten about. So my boss and I are doing a small delivery to this motel, and a couple of cartons of product. Afterwards, we are asked if we want a cup of coffee, so we go into their little restaurant, sit down, and have some coffee. Because I don't drink coffee, I was told I could help myself out of the fridge in the lobby, so off I go. Now, normally motels like this would have a bell or a chime whenever someone comes into the lobby. It allows the staff to attend to other duties so they don't have to stand at the front desk all day. But for whatever reason, this one didn't, or it wasn't working. So I didn't notice that someone had walked in while I was getting the drink. I then noticed some rubbish on the floor, so I picked it up and went behind the desk and put it in the bin. I turn around and this very angry woman is standing there staring at me. I swear I almost saw smoke coming out of her nostrils.
The place you run here is absolutely despicable. I don't even understand how you can possibly operate such a hellhole.
Excuse me? But
nothing. You country hicks think you can do whatever you want, treat us city folk like we're a joke, and give us substandard accommodation. I want to get this room for free, okay?
But miss, if I could just
nothing. You do whatever you need to do in this here book of yours and compass our room, and I don't want to hear another word out of you until it's done.
By this point, my boss had come out to see what was taking so long.
What's the hold-up?
I had got my drink and
nothing. This little disrespectful creep kept interrupting me while I was telling him about the problems of my room.
But miss...
Don't call me miss, it's Mrs. blah blah.
I don't care what your name is. As I'm trying to...
You don't care? You don't care? How dare you speak to me this way? I have friends in the government. I'll have the health department in here so quickly to shut you down, you won't even have time to think about your apology to me.
Apologize? To you?
At this point, the motel owner walks in to see what is happening. What seems to be the problem?
Hopefully you will do something. These two disrespectful shits.
You guys go. I'll take care of this.
Thank goodness someone will.
My boss and I leave. A month or so later, we're back. The owner filled us in on what happened. Apparently the woman and the unregistered guy in her room wanted to skip out on paying, so they thought that if they were able to find fault with the room, they might be able to get it for free. So they decided to tear up the carpet in one corner of the room, hoping to find rotten floorboards, which they could then jump on and hopefully fall through. When that didn't work, they tried tearing the mattress open to expose the springs, but that didn't work either. So finally they just decided to smash the mirror in the bathroom. When smashing the mirror, a piece of glass flew and caught the woman in the eye, and she had to go to hospital. The mirror was built into the bathroom unit, meaning the whole bathroom unit had to be replaced. Charged to the woman, the carpet in the room was one piece throughout, and by tearing it up, the way they did, the whole carpet in the room had to be replaced. Charged to the woman. A replacement mattress was also charged to the woman. At this time, I was at university and debating which business major to do. I was looking at hospitality and tourism so I could work in a motel, but after this, I decided on marketing. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, number 44. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. It's been a while since I did one of these. Sometimes all it takes for me to do a video I've not done for a while is someone going, poke, 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 poke. When are you going to do another one soon, please? And I think, oh yeah, I haven't done one of those for a while. Anyway, I have some shout-outs. Right, shout out to the author of story number 2, the one that took place at the Schmancy Hotel. That would be Balsa M. Wood, or Balsam Wood. Reddit user, I'm going to go with Balsam Wood. I like the sound of it. If that is wrong, I do apologize, and please do correct me. Thank you very much for letting me use your story. And we also have, for the author of story number 3, Reddit user Panda Makshifa. Thank you kindly for the use of your story, Panda. I didn't even know pandas could work at hotels, but there you go. Alright, I'm going to keep the rest of the outro a little bit short on this, as it is glitch week, and it's getting late for me, so I need to start getting organized for that. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.